friends, and welcome to another knit and chat video. If you're new here, I'm Emily and I am the lady behind Wool & Burn. Here on my YouTube channel I post videos about knitting and sewing and creative things, and more recently I'm gonna start posting more vlogs that are kind of like lifestyle, homemaker, stay-at-home mom sort of a thing. I am just so happy to be here today. Also, apologies if you can hear. Today is trash day. So I was going to say dump truck. The trash truck is going through the neighborhood, and I thought it had gotten far enough away, but I feel like you're probably still going to be able to hear it because the windows are open. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here today because I've been itching to film more videos, more creative videos, not just lifestyle vlogs. I really want to be able to do crafting and such, but as you can see, I have a baby, and he is a particularly lovely, demanding baby who wants to be held and snuggled all the time, and it just makes crafting a little bit more difficult, a little more challenging to find those little pockets of time to do crafting in. So I decided I'm going to do a knit and chat video so that I can chat and knit and do some multitasking. Today I have a cup of tea, so I encourage you, if you do not have a cup of tea and you like tea, to pause the video and go and get a cup of tea, because if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's autumn, and autumn is the perfect time for drinking tea. I love tea. I have missed being able to drink tea because I was pregnant over much of the summer and it was hot, and so I was being very careful about the things that I was drinking and eating because I was pregnant. And so since it's been cooler, I have been really trying to do a lot more tea drinking. Today I am drinking a cup of mandarin orange spice, I think. Hold on. The dumpster truck is back. Okay. Hopefully the trash truck is far enough away. As I was saying, tea that I am drinking, mandarin orange spice, I believe is what it's called. It's just to say goodness, I haven't talked much today at all. It's a celestial seasonings tea. You used to be able to get it at the grocery store, and then a few years ago they just stopped selling it at the grocery store, which made me very sad because it's one of my favorite celestial seasoning teas. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's just, it's so good. Yeah, it's just at drinking temperature, so it's perfect. This year I'm hoping to get, I think it's Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride by Celestial Seasonings. You can order it online. I'll link their website down below. It's fairly inexpensive. The only thing is the shipping is kind of expensive. So unless they're having a special or you're planning to get a bunch of teas, I don't know if I would recommend getting it off of there, but the individual tea boxes are fairly cheap. But I think I had Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride years ago when I was pretty little, and I completely forgot about it because again, another one, they don't sell it in the stores anymore. At least not where I am. Maybe they do in other parts of the United States, but not where I live, not in Walmart or Publix or places like that. And I think it was either last year or the year before, I was watching Darling Desi, and she mentioned in one of her videos Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride, and it reminded me of it, and ever since then I've been wanting to get it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I think this year I'm going to make myself get it. Yeah, anyway, that's tea. That's what I'm drinking. I also have a water bottle because, as any other nursing mamas will know, you have to drink so much water. You're thirsty all the time. But anyway, so tea, what am I working on? That's what I should talk about next. So, I'm currently knitting. I am now in the middle of a row because I started knitting while I was waiting for the trash truck to go by. I am working on a test knit for Emily of the Blue Mouse Knits, and it is a lovely, simple, classic cardigan. And let me actually get to the end of the row here so that I can show it to you. But it is a pieced cardigan. It's all in stockinette, so it is worked back and forth. So if you dislike purling, it might not be the pattern for you. But as I mentioned in one of my previous podcast episodes, I was really looking into knitting a few more pieced garments just because I felt in the mood for it. There's something about it that I do really like the fact that it's kind of broken up into smaller chunks. Again, apologies if you can hear any traffic noises. The windows are open because it's autumn and the weather is lovely. And sometimes there's loud cars. I do appreciate the fact with pieced knitted things that there's like very clear, achievable markers, I guess. So for this particular piece, you do the 2 front panels and then you do the back panel and then you seam it together at the shoulders and then you do the sleeves. And it's kind of nice in a way that you can be like, okay, I've finished one front panel, I finished the second front panel, I finished the back panel. That it's a really clear, yeah, sort of markers for where you're at in the process. So let me show you. I just finished seaming together the shoulders of the front and back panels last night. It's going to be a little bit hard to show you with the baby. But yeah, so it's just a really nice stockinette cardigan. It's a super beginner friendly pattern. That's kind of the goal with it. And so we've got it. I seamed it together at the shoulders. I tried a few different types of seams. And this one was the one that ended up looking the best with this particular yarn. I'm so excited to get this cardigan done. I think it's going to be super wearable. I might, once I'm done, go rogue and add some pockets to the front. I've never done like a picked up and knit pocket, but I could see that being so lovely to have on this cardigan. Yeah, again, it's kind of a weird thing to be able to show you. What I'm working on today while we chit-chat is the first sleeve. I picked up the stitches for that last night, and I've worked the first few rows on it, and I'm so excited. The yarn that I'm using is from Hobby Lobby, so super inexpensive. This pattern is designed, again, specifically with beginners in mind, and it was designed in a super budget-friendly yarn. I believe the yarn that Emily used was Yarn ID from Hobby Lobby, and I would have loved to do that, but I was trying to be as economical as possible and find something that was just a little bit cheaper. And so I got the Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek, is it going to focus? There we go. Low pill fiber. This is in the colorway Spice, and it's a worsted weight yarn. It has 232 yards for 142 grams. So I bought 4 of these balls, and I am just about done with, I can't show it to you because it's on the floor over there. I'm just about done with the 3rd skein, so I should have plenty of yarn because I just have the sleeves left to do. So that's what I'm doing it with, and I am knitting it on size US 10.5 knitting needles, which is 6.5 millimeter. And I will say this has, 1, it's taken me a little bit longer because baby, and 2, I have noticed I knit very few things on this large size of needles. Most of the knitting that I do is with fingering weight yarn, and so it's usually on the like US size 1 to like 6. So not very big knitting needles. And I did notice, especially when I was first starting to knit this, that I would have to take quite a few breaks because it was hurting my hands. And I already have some issues with carpal tunnel. I've kind of always had that, and I think that it's just because I use my hands and my arms so much. And then since having a baby with breastfeeding, I've noticed that it's kind of exacerbated it somewhat because you have to like kind of hold the baby in a certain position, and I've gotten a lot better about finding different positions that don't hurt my arms as much. So I'm trying to be really mindful of that because I want to keep being able to use my hands. But yeah, so it has taken a little bit longer than I anticipated just because I've had to take so many breaks and stuff when I'm working on it, but I feel like my hands are getting more acclimated to it, and so it's not as noticeable. So, let's go ahead and chat about some other things. I have a few different things that I want to talk about. First off, like the main, topic point of this video that I wanted to talk about. Little story time. I was on Instagram and I was looking around at a few different Instagram profiles, looking to see if there's some other people that I wanted to follow. I'm very, I guess you could say kind of picky about the people that I follow. I just like to make sure that I don't have too many people that I'm following. I like to keep it right around 100 people or preferably less. But usually what I'll end up doing is I will follow a few new accounts, and then I'll follow them for 2 or 3 weeks or something, and then I kind of will go through and weed out the ones that I don't really feel like I have a connection to, if you will. If it's something where I don't usually remember the person's actual name, I realize that I'm not really paying attention to them that much, and so then I will usually end up unfollowing them. Because I kind of like to make sure that even though it is a social media platform and nobody's going to know who I am, sort of a thing, I do like to make sure that I am, as much as I can, making genuine connections, if you will. And if it's something where I'm just not really connecting with the person enough to remember their name, I don't know, it just feels kind of, fake maybe? I'm not sure. I have a sort of particular, what is it? What do you call it? I don't know, way of looking at Instagram. But anyway, I was browsing through Instagram, and I found this knitting pattern designer, and I was like, oh, your knitting patterns are really cool. That's kind of interesting, super cool. And then I selected one of her posts and realized that she was donating all of the proceeds of her patterns for a certain period of time to a organization that I completely disagree with. So I was like, okay, if this is the kind of stuff that you support, that's not somebody that I really want to follow. I don't really want to support your pattern designing because of what you're supporting. And so I was like, okay, cool, that's fine, that's good, whatever. This is somebody's Instagram profile that this is my first time seeing it. I have never paid much attention to it before. I just happened to see a picture in the search tab and thought it looked kind of interesting. So clicked off of it, didn't think anything more of it. Then a couple days later, I found out that a pattern designer that I do really, really like their designs and was very much interested in purchasing multiple of their patterns. I found out that they were also donating the proceeds from one of their newly published patterns to the same organization that the other person had. And it just gave me pause to stop and think. And I still feel conflicted about it because I really like this person's patterns. They're amazing and I really want to make them. But the fact that I specifically did not follow the first person on Instagram because of what they were supporting makes me feel like I should be consistent and not just ignore that when it's somebody that I really like. And so I still don't know exactly what I think about it. I talked with my husband about it. I was just like, I feel like if I kind of ignore that whole thing for the second pattern designer, that I'm being two-faced, if you will, inconsistent. And so it really got me thinking, seriously thinking about it, and I'm so curious to know, does the morals or opinions, the things that they support, the things that a knitting pattern designer supports, does that impact whether or not you want to purchase their patterns and support them? Because it's never really something that I'd thought about too much before until this. And again, I'm not going to mention any names or anything because it's just, yeah. But the organization that they were supporting had to do with abortions, and I am very much not a supporter of that. Never have been, but particularly after having had a baby, not a supporter of that. And so it's just made me stop and think about what's the right thing to do in this situation, because if I'm specifically not going to follow somebody because of their support of that, doesn't that mean I need to be consistent across the board and not support people? I don't know, it's such a weird thing, and I had never thought about it before. And so I'm really, really curious to see what you guys think, if that's something that even factors into the decision. If it's something where it doesn't matter that you separate the work of the person from the person themselves. I don't know. I'm really curious, because there's things where it's like I'm sure that there are many people that I follow and like online that have things that I would disagree with, that they believe things I would disagree with, or they support things that I would disagree with. But I don't know that they think or support these things, and so it doesn't factor into my decision-making process. And then there's other people that I follow that they support really amazing things, and it makes me just want to buy all of their patterns. In particular, Rebecca of Crayabea, the Crayabea podcast, and the Crayabea on Instagram. She just released her Cargill cowl, and she released it as a charity release, which is just... oh, it's awesome. So basically, until the end of the month of November, she's donating all of the proceeds from that pattern to the Fistula organization, I think is what it's called. And it's basically an organization that supports women that have some complications issues after giving birth. And it's provides them with the organization, I haven't looked too much into it, I looked into it just a little bit, but basically they provide surgeries and medical attention for women who can't really access that super easily, and I love that. Again, especially since I've just had a baby, and so I've just been through the whole labor and pregnancy and delivery and all of that sort of a thing, that's what she was supporting. I purchased the pattern immediately because I think that's so amazing and so cool, and I love the idea of supporting that. So it is definitely like a two-way thing, but I'm really curious to know if it impacts how you decide whether or not to buy a pattern. Because then I haven't completely decided what I'm going to do. If it's being inconsistent for me to purchase the patterns from this person that I really like their designs, or not, I don't know. Because honestly, if it hadn't been for that first person that I specifically did not follow on Instagram because of their support of this organization, I don't think I would have been as conflicted about it, because it would have been like, oh, okay, like, whatever, I just won't purchase the second person's pattern that the proceeds are going to this organization. And I wouldn't have thought anything more about it, but just because I did that on Instagram in the first place, it's really given me pause to stop and think about it. Yeah, I would love to know your opinion down below, if it's something that you even consider, or if you don't really pay attention to it and you don't care. I'd be interested to know that too. Or if you have any thoughts to weigh in on this one in specific, or this circumstance in particular. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know. So, that's that with that potentially divisive topic. We're just going to kind of go into some of the life recently sort of discussions. I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about some music that I've been listening to, some books that I've been reading, and some YouTube channels that I have been particularly enjoying recently. Yeah, life has just kind of been a lot of day-to-day same exact thing, which basically is waking up, taking care of baby, trying to get a few household chores done, trying to squeeze in some creative time, taking care of baby and eating some food and going to sleep and repeat. And it's been amazing. It's hard sometimes. I find that I miss being able to craft as much as I used to. I really, really do. I just want to be able to sit and knit and sew. I have been dying to get back to my sewing machine, but unfortunately sewing is a bit more, there's a bit more like setup and whatnot that goes into it than just sitting down and knitting. Yeah, so I've been just itching to get back to that, because the other reason too is that I have been woefully lacking in the clothing department, because with breastfeeding it made a lot of the things that I made for myself, dresses and stuff, during pregnancy do not fit right now. And so they have gotten packed away. And so I only have a very limited amount of things that I can actually wear. And so I've just been really wanting to get back to the sewing machine, but again, I just can't right now. So, yeah, but it's been lovely. I have really, really loved being able to be a mom. I have mentioned this before on this channel. That has always been my dream. My goal was to be a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home wife, making a cozy, lovely home. Which has been the other kind of difficult thing, honestly, is that I haven't been able to do as much cleaning as I would like to, just because baby Tam is, again, he just wants to be held and with me at all times, basically. And this baby wrap has been a lifesaver, because I've been able to get more things done than I would have been able to. But still, there's a lot of things that are very difficult to do with the baby strapped onto you. And so it has limited a lot of the cleaning that I've been able to do, which makes me feel a little bit bad, because I feel like that's one of my main goals as a housewife, to be able to do. But yeah, life is good. It's hard and exhausting sometimes, and sleep deprivation is the thing. Hi, monkey. You have a good nap? I may have to cut things off here for a minute and go and feed him, but he might be okay. So, really quickly then, let's go ahead and jump into the things that I mentioned. What have I been reading recently? I have been in such a mood for cozy Golden Age murder mysteries. Agatha Christie and Patricia Wentworth are my top two that I've been reading. I did just finish reading a Georgette Heyer murder mystery book. Yeah, it's fall time, it's cozy time. I've been wanting to read all of the cozy murder mysteries, and a lot of them are rereads, which is just kind of what I'm in the mood for right now, because, hi, I find that if I'm kind of going through a lot of stress or things like that, I typically want to reread books, because I don't want any huge surprises or shocks or anything like that. I just want things to be familiar and cozy. So I've been really enjoying reading Agatha Christie. I've read pretty much all of her books, as far as I know. I think I've read all of them, or at least all of the ones available at my library. So I've been rereading a few of those. Right now I'm reading Sparkling Cyanide, which is really funny, because I realized yesterday that one of the main parts of the book happens on November 2nd. So it's set right at the end of October and the beginning of November. So I accidentally picked the perfect Agatha Christie book to read at this time of year, which just made me laugh. I was so happy about that. And then I've been rereading Patricia Wentworth, who was a author discovery for this year. I read through all of her Miss Silver murder mysteries at the beginning of the year when I was pregnant and morning sick. And yeah, so I've been rereading a few of her books, which I love her writing so much. Miss Silver is very similar in style, I guess you could say, to Agatha Christie's Miss Marple. And she's just this very classy older woman who does detecting. And it's really fun because, especially as a knitter, Miss Silver is constantly knitting, and she'll talk about how she's knitting little jackets and sweaters and cardigans and socks for her niece's children, and it'll talk about how she's knitting a cardigan or a twin set, which is basically a cardigan and then like a sweater. It was a really popular style in like the 1940s, 1950s, and so she'll talk about how she went to the store and purchased this wool and all this stuff, and so that part's really fun too, like as a knitter, where she's constantly talking about how she's knitting. I love that, and she knits continental style, and she doesn't have to look at her hands, and so I relate to that too because I knit continentally as well. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah. He's probably gonna get kind of fussy and hungry in like 30 seconds here. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I've been reading recently, and very, very much enjoying it. I'm not a fan at all of Halloween. Honestly, that's one of my least favorite parts of autumn. I'm always so glad when it's done for the year because I don't like things that are kind of dark and gloomy and spooky and scary just for the purpose of being dark and gloomy and spooky and scary. So Halloween is my least favorite holiday out of the year. I really dislike it. And so I'm glad that it's done for another year, but I do love the very cozy, homey autumnal vibes of this time of year. That's the sort of thing that I really like to lean into. I love to celebrate autumn and fall. Like, yeah, that's the sort of thing that I prefer rather than Halloween. Yeah. So then, what have I been listening to recently as far as music? I've been listening to, if you're not familiar, there's a video game called Death's Door. And it's about this little crow that has to go around and collect souls. And it's a really fun video game. I watched my husband play through it last year, and then I've played through it a little bit as well. Its soundtrack is so good. It's all here on Instagram, or not Instagram. It's all here on YouTube, and it is like the perfect soundtrack for this time of year. It's like cozy and kind of melancholy almost, and it just sounds autumnal to me. So if you haven't heard of it before, I'm going to link the soundtrack down below, and I highly recommend you just go and listen to it. It's instrumental, and it's so atmospheric, I guess, and I really, really enjoy it. I'll listen to it off and on, but then I turned it on the other day and I realized that it's absolutely perfect for this time of year. So I highly recommend that. And then also the soundtrack for the video game Dorfromantik, which is a super fun game. I absolutely love that game. I have played hours and hours of that game. I'll link that soundtrack down below as well. Again, it's another instrumental, really calm, cozy soundtrack, which is 100% my type of thing. That's usually the type of music that I listen to. I'm a huge fan of instrumental classical music, like that's just, or instrumental piano music. There are so many times where I'll just search on YouTube for like the Studio Ghibli piano videos, and I'll just have those playing in the background. I just love that sort of music. And then the one other thing that I was listening to the other day when I was cooking, it was kind of my guilty pleasure music, if you will. I was listening to Westlife, which was a boy band that was super popular in the early 2000s. I didn't really find out about it until a bit later. And it's really nostalgic for me because I listened to it a lot when I think I was probably between like 15 and 18, somewhere in that range, and I listened to it quite a bit. And so the other day in the kitchen I was just like, ooh, nostalgia. And part of that was because my husband and I just watched only yesterday the Studio Ghibli movie. So good. Oh, I love that movie so much. It's so, again, calm and cozy and soothing and just beautiful. And then right at the end they play a version of The Rose, which is a song, and I love Westlife's version of it. And so I listened to Westlife's version of The Rose, and that reminded me of Westlife and made me want to listen to it again. So and that's why I was like, ooh, let's listen to this for a little bit. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly today, hopefully before little man here decides that he's had enough, is YouTube channels. And there's two in particular that I have been watching a ton of here recently. The first one is a new to me channel that I found just a couple weeks ago, and it's Kitchen Story, and it's this lovely lady. It's a no talking, no face sort of videos, and she just cooks, and it shows her beautiful, beautiful house. And I have been watching so many of her videos. It's ridiculous. I'll just sit there and watch her do her cooking and her gorgeous kitchen. Like, oh my goodness. Can we talk about how jealous I am of that kitchen? It's beautiful. And so I've been really loving it because it's just basically her cooking, and then it's really pretty simple music in the background. Let me finish my row really quickly. Really quickly. Almost done. So I highly, highly recommend that channel if you want something just kind of calming to watch while you're doing some knitting. It's okay. Can I have like 2 minutes? I'm just about done. Here. Yeah? Here, give me 2 minutes. And then the other one that I've been rewatching a lot of her videos is Gaina of Tales from Cuckoo Land. I love her channel so much, and I've been rewatching like her vlogmases. Big loud truck going by. Go away! I've been rewatching her vlogmases, and oh, they're so cozy and lovely, and it's been getting me very excited for Christmas time. And she's just amazing. She's like kind of one of those people that I aspire to be like as a mother. Yeah, she's somebody that I would love to have as like an aunt that lives next door, and I can like pop by and ask her questions and cook things with her and do crafting with her. Yeah. And so those two are some channels that I've been really enjoying watching, especially during like nursing sessions when I can't really do much else. I'll watch those. So I highly recommend both of them. I will link them down below. Yeah, that's all that I have to talk about today. Again, I would love to hear some of your thoughts and opinions on the sort of spicy topic that I mentioned earlier. Yes. I'd love to know what you're working on, what some of your favorite teas are. If you have any tea recommendations, I would love to hear it because I always love finding new teas. Right now I'm particularly interested in herbal or non-caffeinated teas because, again, I'm breastfeeding. Okay. So if you have any sort of like favorite teas or things that you really enjoy, or other favorite drinks for this time of year, I would love to hear that. Yeah, I managed to get a good few rows done. Do you mind? I'm gonna have to move quickly here. So I probably doubled the amount of sleeves that I had done, which is pretty good. Again, I am a little slower at knitting on this because it's thicker yarn, thicker needles. But anyway, little man is hungry. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm hoping to be back sometime in the next couple of weeks with another podcast episode. yeah, and I'm definitely planning to do some more vlogs and things, and I'm actually hoping today to film a book video for my booktube channel, which I will again link down below. Yeah, that's all that I've got. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you very soon on the next one. Bye!